Imagine waking up every day feeling like you've just run a marathon. You feel fatigued and multiple parts of your body feel sore, but you haven't left your bed. For millions of people living with fibromyalgia, this is a reality. What if I told you that there's a perspective about fibromyalgia that's often missed, but once you can appreciate it, it could fundamentally change how you look at fibromyalgia. It can help you better understand what it actually is, but also better inform you as to what you may need to do specifically to give yourself the best chance of conquering fibromyalgia down the track. And in this video, I want to explain to you that perspective that you may be missing. And then I want to talk to you about some things that you can try that you may not have thought of before that might help you regain control over your fibromyalgia. So whether you've been newly diagnosed with fibro, or like most people, it's something that you've been dealing with for years, let's get into it. So I think the number one thing to say here to begin with is that you are not going crazy. Everything that you feel and you think you feel is valid. Hard for other people to appreciate, absolutely, but it doesn't make it any less meaningful. And because of what we'll get to in a second, it's really important that you feel that your symptoms and how you feel about this whole experience is validated. Not only for your own mental health, but because feeling stressed and invalidated about your fibro can legitimately feed back into your symptoms, potentially making them feel worse and persist for longer. So before we get to this missed perspective, please pause this video, go to the comment section, and please tell me your experience to this point. Have you felt invalidated? Do you have people around you that maybe don't believe that your symptoms are real? Have you seen a number of different medical and healthcare professionals who've done a crap job? Where do you feel you're currently at? Use that as a reference point, because as we then start to transition to this missed perspective, we'll hopefully start to appreciate why how you felt to this point is really important. But also we should start to see a contrast once we start to apply the thinking that I would like you to apply to fibro. The next thing here is the main thing. We need to talk about what fibromyalgia potentially is for you. One of the main symptoms associated with fibromyalgia, apart from a sense of fatigue for a lot of people, is a strong sense of pain and discomfort through potentially multiple areas of your body. But with that in mind, the way that I would like you to think about your fibromyalgia going forwards is that the areas that you get your aches, pains, and discomforts in are no different to the same spots that anyone else without fibro may experience. It's just that there's something about your nervous system that has become heightened, more sensitive, overactive, whichever word you want to use to describe it, that then turns these regular spots into a monster. And this is the piece of the puzzle that I don't think we do a good enough job in my industry of appreciating and understanding and conveying to you. The musculoskeletal aches and pains that you may be experiencing with fibro aren't the problem. The real challenge with fibro is that we need to understand what's going on with your nervous system. Strength work, exercise, massage, stretches, all of those things are still an important piece of the fibro puzzle. But if you can imagine that your symptoms have been encased in a foot of concrete that is your heightened nervous system, we need to make sure that we continue with those musculoskeletal treatments. But if we don't pair it up with something that helps you better regulate what your nervous system is doing, then we may never give your body permission to resolve those musculoskeletal complaints. So it's this nervous system piece of the puzzle that we need to discuss in more detail. And a really simple way to understand this is that your nervous system has an automatic function attached to it. It's our fight or flight response. We've all felt it. Somebody jump scares you from around the corner. You feel a sudden rush of blood. You suddenly feel more heightened. This is a very reasonable reaction that your body has in the form of a potential threat to give you that sudden superhuman boost of function to either fight your way out of that situation or run away. Either way, it's an innate process that is designed to give you the best chance of surviving. And in the animal kingdom, that fight or flight response is relatively fleeting. Say we have a lion chasing a zebra. If for whatever reason the zebra got away, very quickly you might see that the lion has gone to sleep, or the zebra is just calmly drinking at a watering hole again because that threat has gone. But the challenge as modern humans is that our nervous systems are wired exactly the same, but often those stresses or those threats are no longer fleeting. They might just look a little bit different. In today's modern world, stress or challenges or threats can come in numerous forms. There can be work stress, financial stress, family stress, relationship stress, cultural stress, religious stress, political stress, time stress. There's so many things that can subtly influence your nervous system to be a little bit more heightened and a little bit more on edge to help you deal with that situation. But instead of those stresses being fleeting, they're often constant, if not chronic, day after day after day. So if we have your nervous system and we dial it up a little bit more to deal with day-to-day stress, but we never get a chance to dial that back down again, then essentially your nervous system is running a little bit hotter than it should. And this chronic heightening and sense of threat is often the thing that turns those musculoskeletal symptoms into a monster. Whereas someone who can slouch all day and maybe come away with a couple of small tight muscles, if your nervous system's already dialed up and then you slouch, you might find that those muscles are now tighter and they may start to feel a little bit tender and sore as a consequence. And the other really important thing to understand here is when we're dealing with a background sense of constant daily stresses and threats, albeit relatively minor, there is a world where if you've been given a label of fibromyalgia, that there is something more significant that's happened in your past or may still be happening to you now. Talking a history of sexual abuse, physical abuse, mental abuse. Those really deep, life-changing experiences matter. And if this is you, even if those moments aren't necessarily front of your mind day to day, if thinking about them or experiencing things relating to those still gives you a sense of dread or discomfort or anything like that, then it may still be having a heightening effect on your nervous system without you realizing it, albeit in the background. And it's not to say that you need to have some relatively traumatic events to develop fibromyalgia, because trauma and stress and threats are all placed on the same continuum, just at different points. Anything that you feel, consciously or subconsciously, is an ongoing threat or is challenging for you, has the potential to leave your nervous system fundamentally heightened and prone to turning day-to-day musculoskeletal dysfunction into something more sinister and something more persistent. So as mentioned, if you're someone who looks at your fibromyalgia as purely a musculoskeletal dysfunction, then you could be missing the most important piece of the puzzle. And if you can appreciate that dynamic between a heightened nervous system and the musculoskeletal stuff, it may better help you understand why some of the things that you've already done, the strength training, the exercises, the stretches, why they may not have had any significant long-lasting effect. It doesn't mean that they're not important, because we still may need to do those things, but we have to pair them up with something that you feel helps you better cope with what you're going through, what you've been through, to wind that nervous system back down and give permission for those symptoms to go away. We need to discuss some strategies that will hopefully aim to chronically decrease your heightened nervous system. And one of the main ones, one of the fastest acting ones, is something as simple as deep breathing. Now, before we get to this deep breathing exercise, what we need to do is we need to establish a baseline of how heightened you feel to begin with. So we need to base everything on results. So what I'd like you to do first is, if you can find a comfortable spot, you can sit down, lean up against something, lie down on the ground. I'd like you to close your eyes and just try and take stock of how heightened you feel out of 10. 0 is on the verge of falling asleep. 10, you probably feel like you're on the verge of crying or having an emotional breakdown. But just close your eyes, just get a general sense. Maybe it's a 3, it's a 5, it's a 6. It doesn't matter what it is. Just remember what number you feel it is, but also how you feel. We're obviously going to come back to this after doing this breathing exercise. And so with this breathing exercise, again, sit down, get relaxed, lie down, whatever you feel is the most comfortable for you. Close the blinds, turn the light off, turn your phone off. Give yourself 5 or 10 minutes to do this. Once you're comfortable, close your eyes. You're going to take a full breath in through your nose. We're going to pause at the top for about 2 seconds. And then on the exhale, we're going to let go. We're not going to forcefully breathe out. We're just going to let go and sigh on the way out through those pursed lips. We're then going to pause at the bottom for another 2 seconds, and we're going to repeat that process 10 times. So how it looks is a full breath in through your nose and through your diaphragm. We're going to pause at the top for 2 seconds. Then sigh, relax all the way out. Pause at the bottom for 2 seconds. Before repeating that process. We're going to repeat that 10 times. What you should find is by the 10th time, you should genuinely feel more relaxed, less heightened, less on edge, less stressed than you did initially. Close your eyes again, check in with your nervous system, give yourself another score out of 10, but then also compare how you feel to how you felt before doing this. You deserve to feel like something has changed. please hold me to this. Because what I would like you to do on top of this is if you have certain activities, certain things that you do that often remind you of your fibromyalgia symptoms, say you're bending to pick something up, maybe you're rolling a ball in a tissue and it generally hurts for you. Again, do that first. Go through this breathing technique, do that again, see if something has changed just by dialing down your nervous system. And what's important to understand here is if you are someone who has had a chronically heightened nervous system, you've been living in a stressful situation, you've had some trauma in your past that maybe is unresolved or hasn't been resolved enough, doing one lot of deep breathing will not cure you. If you have a chronically stiff ankle and you stretch your ankle one time, it should feel looser straight away, much like you should feel more down-regulated or relaxed straight away. But if your brain and nervous system, your musculoskeletal system, has become used to being a certain way for a long period of time, it will naturally gravitate back towards that because unknowingly you've told it that that's how you'd like to be. So we need consistency of effort that needs to be backed up and fueled by results to make it meaningful and valid and to give you the motivation to actually stick to it. But you've got to keep doing this. Do it a few times a day if you have the capacity to. Do it when you're driving without obviously closing your eyes. Do it in between phone calls at work, while you're watching TV, waiting in line. Take time throughout your day just to chronically start to down-regulate that nervous system. It could take days, it could take weeks, it could take months to resolve this component. This alone may not be enough. You may need to do other things as well. Things like ice baths while you're maintaining slow and controlled deep breaths. Saunas, hot tubs, a good massage if you feel the touch and the pressure also feels safe and not threatening to you. General exercise, running, swimming, surfing, walking out in the sunshine, getting some sunshine, working on your diet and your nutrition to angle towards things that are less threatening for your body, things that are more natural versus processed, sugary, preservative-filled, chemical-filled foods. Prioritizing your sleep, doing all of these things in a way that doesn't feel threatening and challenging in and of itself can be great ways to help down-regulate a heightened nervous system and allow it to stay there more consistently. If you have been dealing with some trauma or some nasty things that have happened in your past, consider speaking to someone that can help you process that from a mental perspective. Again, to take the heat out of it, to start disassociating the things that you've been dealing with the nervous system being heightened and threatened. It's often easier said than done, but thinking about your fibro in this way of being a heightened nervous system on top of some musculoskeletal dysfunction, it can start to help you intuitively take steps towards the things that may genuinely make a difference to how you feel day to day. And bringing this back full circle, this is one of the main reasons why making you feel valid, giving you confidence that you aren't going crazy, that there are things that you can do, that the things that you may have done that haven't worked potentially now make more sense. Because the more that we say that this is a you problem, that it's all in your head, that you're crazy, that you're being difficult, that this is your fault, it does nothing to take you out of that threatened, heightened, overloaded state and prompt you to dump back down to that more natural baseline. The more stress you feel, the more mystery there is about this, the less direction you have, the less control you feel you have, the harder it is for you to get that nervous system to feel safe, because none of those things promote a sense of safety. So if you can appreciate fibro from that perspective, this is the thing that can start to help you dig yourself out of this hole if you're willing to put in the hard work. Yes, there may be ups and downs along the way, flare-ups are common, but if you can keep that genuine sense of perspective and hopefully pass it along to other people that are close to you so they can also appreciate it, but also any relevant health or medical professionals that maybe you feel don't have that perspective, and maybe it's getting in the way of them giving you the best advice that's specific enough to you. If we can appreciate this for what it potentially is, we can do something about it. Now that we've gone through that, please let me know in the comments down below what you feel about that. Does that resonate with you? And without going into any details, are there things in your past that you clearly know about but maybe didn't realize what potential current impact it's having on how you feel today? If you enjoyed this video and you found it useful, please consider leaving a like on the video. If you want more content like this from me, please consider subscribing to the channel, but please also consider becoming a member. You'll receive more exclusive video and additional content from me, and you'll also be able to contact me more specifically, more easily. But as always, thanks again for watching. Good luck. I hope it was helpful, and I'll talk to you soon.